She ended the relationship because he was poor. To his astonishment, he later learns that she is actually the secret daughter of a billionaire. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, blending with the gentle murmur of conversations and the occasional clatter of cups. The cafe was small and inviting, nothing fancy, but it always held a special meaning for Lena and Ryan. It was their weekend retreat, a place where they laughed over inexpensive drinks and imagined a brighter future together. But today, something fell off. The warmth was gone, replaced by an unfamiliar distance. Lena sat across from Ryan, her eyes sparkling with hope. She leaned in, her hands gripping the table as she tried to contain her excitement. "I got the job, Ryan," she announced, her voice brimming with happiness. "It's just a start, but it means I can begin saving. Maybe in a few years dash." Ryan interrupted her with a sigh, his fingers tapping restlessly on the table. He didn't smile. Lena's heart dropped. "What's wrong?" she asked gently. Ryan averted his gaze, searching for the right words. After a tense silence, he spoke, his voice cold and detached. "Lena, we need to talk." The seriousness in his tone made her anxious. "Okay," she replied carefully, forcing a smile. "What is it?" He exhaled sharply, still avoiding her eyes. "This isn't working," he said. Lena stared at him, confused. "What do you mean?" Ryan finally met her gaze, but his eyes were void of affection. "I mean, we should break up." For a moment, Lena couldn't breathe, her mind racing to process his words. "Ryan, where is this coming from? Just last week you said you loved me." Ryan scoffed, letting out a dry laugh. "Love, Lena, let's be realistic." He leaned back, arms crossed. "You're still living in that tiny apartment. You barely make enough to survive. Do you really think love is enough?" Lena's hand shook as she held her coffee cup. "But we always planned to build a life together. Money isn't everything, Ryan. We have each other. Isn't that what matters?" Ryan laughed again, his tone dismissive. "That's just something poor people say to make themselves feel better." Lena recoiled as if she'd been slapped. He sighed, tapping his foot impatiently. "I'm tired, Lena. I don't want to struggle forever. I want more. More than this small, insignificant life." Tears welled in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "So that's it? Just because I'm not wealthy, you're ready to give up on us?" Ryan looked at her with pity. "I'm just being honest. You should appreciate that." Before Lena could reply, someone interrupted. "Ryan, there you are." Lena turned to see Sophie, a woman who seemed to have everything Lena didn't. She was elegant, self-assured, and unmistakably wealthy. Her designer dress fit flawlessly, her manicured nails sparkled, and her diamond bracelet was worth more than Lena earned in a year. Sophie ignored Lena, placing a possessive hand on Ryan's shoulder. "Are you ready, darling? My driver's waiting." "Darling." Lena's heart sank. She looked at Ryan in disbelief. "You're leaving me for her?" Ryan stood, adjusting his jacket as if nothing had happened. He showed no remorse, only a smug smile. "This is the life I want, Lena," he said. Then, twisting the knife, he added, "You should find someone more on your level." Lena struggled to breathe, pain tightening her chest. Sophie finally acknowledged Lena with a mocking grin. "Don't take it personally, dear. Some people are just meant to be ordinary." Lena felt her world crumble. Ryan slipped his arm around Sophie, turning away from the woman he once loved. Together, they left the cafe and disappeared into a sleek black car waiting outside. Lena sat motionless, her grip tightening on her cooling coffee. The cafe faded around her, voices and laughter becoming a distant echo. Though tears threatened, she held them back. She wouldn't cry. Not here. The night air bit at her skin as she wandered the shadowy streets, Ryan's cruel words echoing in her mind. Some people are simply destined to remain ordinary. She had given him her love, her trust, and unwavering encouragement, only to be discarded as if she meant nothing. When she finally arrived at her cramped apartment, she closed the door behind her and collapsed onto the bed. The weight of everything that had happened hit her all at once. And for the first time in ages, she allowed herself to cry. But when morning came and sunlight poured through her window, she made a choice. She wouldn't let this defeat her. Lena dried her tears and threw herself into her job. It wasn't glamorous, just an entry-level assistant role at a small company, but she treated it like it was the most important job in the world. She arrived early, stayed late, and tackled every assignment with quiet resolve. While others spent time chatting or taking extra breaks, Lena used every free moment to learn. She studied business tactics, honed her skills, and watched how the senior staff handled negotiations. Her dedication didn't go unnoticed. One evening, as she stayed late to finish a report, a voice broke the silence. "You're still here?" Lena looked up to see Mr. Anderson, the company's vice president. He was a man in his 50s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "I just wanted to make sure everything was perfect," she replied, a bit nervous. Mr. Anderson nodded thoughtfully and walked over to her desk. "Let me take a look." Lena handed him the report, holding her breath as he reviewed it. "This is impressive," he said after a moment. "Better than what I get from some of my senior staff." Lena's eyes widened in surprise. "Really?" He smirked. "You sound shocked." "I've been paying attention. Lena, you work harder than anyone here." He studied her for a moment, then added, "Have you ever considered doing more than just assistant work?" Lena hesitated. I'd like to, but I don't have the right connections or background." Mr. Anderson waved this off. "Talent matters more than background. Here's the deal. If you're willing to learn, I'm willing to teach you." Lena's heart raced. This was the break she'd been hoping for. "I won't waste this opportunity," she promised. Mr. Anderson smiled. "Good. Let's see what you can really do." From that point on, Lena's life was transformed. Mr. Anderson became her mentor, guiding her through the intricacies of business. Under his tutelage, she learned to negotiate deals, analyze market trends, and manage high-pressure situations. She absorbed every lesson eagerly, pushing herself further than ever before. Years went by, and the quiet assistant everyone once ignored became unrecognizable. Lena was no longer just another employee. She was a powerhouse. She rose through the ranks, eventually earning a leadership position. People who once overlooked her now sought her guidance. Those who had doubted her whispered her name with a mix of respect and envy. Despite her achievements, Lena stayed humble. She never flaunted her success or sought revenge on those who underestimated her. She had gained something far more valuable than vengeance. She had power. And soon, those who once dismissed her, including Ryan, would realize just how wrong they'd been. The luxury apartment was unlike anything Ryan had experienced before. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed breathtaking city views. Designer furnishings adorned every corner, and a subtle scent of expensive perfume lingered in the air. It was everything he had ever wanted. Wealth, prestige, and a woman who could offer it all. Sophie welcomed him into her world without hesitation. She showed him off at exclusive events, dressed him in custom suits, and kept him close by her side. At first, Ryan thought he had finally made it. He had escaped a life of hardship. No more worrying about bills or dead-end jobs. He was living the life Lena could never have given him. But the fantasy didn't last long. "Ryan, are you really wearing that?" Sophie's voice cut through the room like a knife. Ryan looked down at his designer jacket, one she had chosen for him. "What's wrong with it?" he asked. She sighed dramatically, sorting through her jewelry. "It's last season. I don't want people thinking I let my boyfriend wear outdated clothes." Ryan clenched his jaw but said nothing. At first, her remarks seemed trivial. She wanted him to fit in, to match her lifestyle. But over time, he realized Sophie didn't see him as an equal. He was more of an accessory, something to display and control. At parties, she paraded him around, introducing him as her Ryan. Never just Ryan. If he spoke too much, she'd gently touch his arm, a silent cue to let her lead. If he voiced an opinion she disagreed with, she'd laugh and say, "Oh, Ryan, you're so cute when you try to sound clever." Worst of all, she never supported his ambitions. "You should start your own business," she suggested one evening over dinner. Ryan perked up. "Actually, I've been thinking about that. I have a few ideas." Sophie rolled her eyes. "Not that kind of business, Ryan. I meant something simple, something you don't have to put much effort into. My father could fund it, of course." His stomach churned. "I don't want your father's money." I want to accomplish something on my own." She let out a soft, patronizing laugh. "Oh, darling, some people are simply meant to enjoy life instead of working for it." He set his fork aside, appetite gone. Some people? The words echoed painfully. Those were the same words he'd once thrown at Lena. As the months went by, the shine of his new life dulled. Ryan, once self-assured and proud, began to feel like a mere shadow of himself. He wasn't respected. He wasn't valued. He existed only in Sophie's world, always on her terms. Worst of all, he had lost control over his own life. His old friends barely kept in touch, dismissing him as nothing more than Sophie's accessory. His career had stalled. Despite all of Sophie's connections, no one took him seriously. He felt himself slipping away. One evening, sitting alone in Sophie's penthouse while she curated her latest flawless image for social media, the truth hit him. He had traded love for status, and it had cost him everything. But his pride wouldn't let him admit it, not yet. The grand ballroom sparkled under the light of crystal chandeliers. The air hummed with conversation, laughter, and the soft ringing of champagne glasses. This was an event for the city's most influential. Business leaders, investors, and the brightest new talents mingled. Ryan stood by the bar, absently swirling his drink. 3 years in Sophie's world had drained him, and even these lavish parties now fell hollow. Then, through the crowd, he saw her. Lena. He almost didn't recognize her. Gone was the timid girl in thrifted clothes sipping cheap coffee. In her place stood a woman of quiet strength, dressed in a sophisticated gown that complemented her poise. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup understated yet flawless. But what truly set her apart was the confidence in her stance, the calm assurance in her every move. People turned as she passed, whispering her name with admiration. Ryan's breath caught. This wasn't just Lena. This was Lena Carter, now one of the most respected young executives in industry. And he had let her go. Ryan watched as Lena navigated the room, conversing easily with powerful business figures. They listened intently, nodding with respect. 3 years ago, she had been beneath him. Now, she stood on a level he could never reach. His grip tightened on his glass. Sophie, beside him, sneered. Ugh, her. I don't get why everyone thinks she's special. She just got lucky. Ryan barely heard her. His mind was reeling. He had to speak to Lena to explain something. His thoughts scattered as their eyes met across the room. Lena had seen him. For a split second, time stood still. Ryan caught a flicker of recognition in her gaze, a trace of their shared past. But it vanished just as quickly. She didn't look at him with anger. She didn't look at him with longing. She looked right through him, as if he were invisible, just as he had once done to her. As the evening wore on, Ryan couldn't stop watching her. He needed to talk to her, to say anything. When he saw her heading for the exit, he acted on impulse. Lena. She paused briefly, but didn't turn. Ryan hurried after her, reaching out, desperate. Lena, wait. She finally faced him. Up close, she was even more striking than he remembered. But what truly unsettled him was her expression. There was no anger, no sadness, only indifference. Ryan. She greeted him, her tone calm and businesslike. It's been a while. He swallowed, nerves tightening his throat. Yeah, it has. He gestured awkwardly, struggling for words. You seem different. A faint smile crossed her lips. People grow. Ryan gave a nervous chuckle. Yeah, I can tell. He paused, lowering his voice. Listen, But before he could finish, a man approached and stood beside Lena. He was tall, impeccably dressed, radiating quiet authority. Lena turned to him with a warm, effortless smile. Shall we? She asked. The man nodded and gently placed his hand at her back. The car is ready. Ryan felt something inside him break. She had moved on, and he was just a memory, someone she no longer needed. Lena glanced back at Ryan one last time, her expression impossible to read. Then, without another word, she walked away, leaving him behind just as he had once left her. That night, Ryan couldn't get her out of his mind. After Lena disappeared without a backward glance, a hollow ache settled in his chest. It wasn't just regret, it was disbelief. How had she changed so much? How had she risen so far, so quickly? This wasn't the Lena he'd left behind, the girl he'd once dismissed. He needed to know the truth. The next morning, Ryan sat at his desk, unable to concentrate. The job that once filled him with pride now seemed insignificant compared to the presence Lena had commanded the night before. On a whim, he opened his laptop and typed her name, Lena Carter. His heart raced as article after article appeared. The corporate world's new star, Lena Carter. From assistant to CEO, how Lena Carter built her legacy. Then one headline made his breath catch. Billionaire Richard Carter reunites with his lost daughter. Ryan stared in shock. Richard Carter, the legendary CEO, his own company had spent years trying to impress. He clicked the article, reading in disbelief. After years apart, billionaire Richard Carter had finally found his daughter, Lena. Despite growing up away from the Carter fortune, she had created her own success, refusing to rely on her father's wealth. Sources revealed that Richard Carter deeply admired his daughter's accomplishments and was eager to rebuild their relationship. Ryan leaned back, his mind reeling. Lena wasn't just successful, she was powerful. She wasn't just a rising executive, she was the heir to a business empire. And he had let her go, running his hand through his hair. Ryan thought back to all the times he called her ordinary, belittled her dreams, and walked away from the woman who was always destined for greatness. Now she stood at the top without him. A wave of nausea hit him. Did Lena know all along? Had she hidden her identity to see who truly cared? Or was it fate that changed everything after he left? Either way, the truth was clear. He had lost her, not just as a lover, but as the one person who could have changed his life. For the first time, Ryan felt truly small. He'd spent years chasing Sophie, believing money and status would bring happiness. But Sophie had left him as soon as he lost his usefulness. Lena, on the other hand, had built something real, something unbreakable. Now she had everything he'd ever wanted. The realization hit him hard. He needed to see her again to apologize, to ask for another chance. Maybe, just maybe, he could fix his greatest mistake. But deep inside, he feared that Lena Carter no longer needed him, and that frightened him more than anything. Ryan stood outside Carter Enterprises, his palms sweating despite the crisp morning air. This was it. He had spent days trying to contact Lena, but she was no longer the woman who answered late-night calls or replied to texts. She was protected, unreachable. It took weeks to arrange a meeting, but today he finally had his chance. Taking a deep breath, he straightened his tie and stepped into the gleaming glass building. When Ryan entered Lena's office, his heart thudded in his chest. She sat behind a polished desk, poised and elegant in a tailored black dress. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind her, giving her an almost ethereal glow. She looked up, her expression calm and unreadable. Ryan, just hearing her say his name, made his chest ache. I didn't know if you'd agree to see me, he admitted, voice trembling. Lena leaned back, folding her hands. I was curious. Her tone was even no warmth, no resentment. Just a curiosity that stung sharper than anger. Ryan swallowed. Lena, I know I don't deserve to be here, but I had to see you. She waited, silent. I was wrong, he blurted, about everything. Still, Lena said nothing, her gaze steady and piercing. Ryan drew a shaky breath. When I left, I thought I was making the right choice. I thought money and status were what mattered, but I was wrong. His voice faltered. You were the best thing in my life, and I let you go. Lena didn't react. Yes, she replied softly. He had braced himself for anger or resistance, but her total lack of emotion was far worse. I regret it, Lena. Every day. He took a step closer, desperation creeping into his voice. Seeing you now, I realize it. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Lena exhaled softly. And what is it you want from me, Ryan? I want another chance. Just one, he pleaded. For a moment, her expression changed, a flicker of amusement in her eyes. A second chance? She repeated, as if testing the words. Yes, Ryan said, moving closer. I know I don't deserve it. But please, Lena, give me one more chance. I'll do anything. Lena rose, smoothing her dress as she walked around the desk to face him directly. You say you regret it. You say you've changed. But tell me, Ryan, if I were still that girl in the tiny cafe, struggling to get by, would you be here right now? Ryan opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Lena's smile was cool, triumphant. If you truly love me, Ryan, you wouldn't have left for money in the first place. Ryan felt the ground vanish beneath his feet. Lena, please, he whispered. I'll prove it to you. Just let me show you I love you. She studied him for a moment. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed a quiet, almost sympathetic sound. Ryan, she said, shaking her head, I don't love you anymore. His breath caught. You're a lesson, she continued, her voice steady. One I learned well. I've moved on. Ryan's legs felt weak. Please, he begged, pride shattered, dropping to his knees before her. Lena, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but dash. Lena stepped back, her expression unchanged. Don't beg, Ryan. It's beneath you. Tears burned in his eyes, but he wouldn't let them fall. Lena turned and walked toward the door. This meeting is over. He scrambled to his feet. Lena, please dash, she paused, glancing over her shoulder. This is the last time we'll ever speak, she said quietly. Goodbye, Ryan. And then she was gone, leaving him alone. The penthouse felt foreign now. Ryan stood in the center of the opulent living room, but for the first time, it felt empty. The luxury, the designer furniture, the breathtaking view, none of it mattered anymore. Not after Lena had walked away for good. And soon he would lose it all. Ryan was staring at his phone, rereading news articles about Lena for what felt like the 100th time, when Sophie's voice sliced through the silence. So it's true. He looked up. Sophie stood by the door, arms folded, anger etched on her face. Ryan sighed, exhausted. Sophie, not now. She marched toward him, waving her phone. Oh, I think now is the perfect time. She turned the screen to him, a photo of him leaving Carter Enterprises. His stomach dropped. Sophie sneered. You really thought I wouldn't find out you went crawling back to that pathetic little ex of yours? Ryan stiffened. She's not pathetic. Sophie's eyes flashed. So it's true. You actually begged her to take you back. Ryan clenched his jaw, silent. She laughed bitterly. Wow, you really are pathetic. He rubbed his face, feeling sick. Look, I don't want to do this right now. Well, I do, Sophie snapped. I refuse to be humiliated by you chasing after some woman who doesn't even want you. Her gaze hardened. You used me, Ryan. You thought you could ride my money forever, didn't you? Ryan's blood ran cold. That's not true. Sophie smirked. No, let's see how you do without me. His heart pounded. Sophie, dash. She raised a manicured hand. Save it. We're done. Pack your things and leave. Ryan's breath caught. Wait, dash. She turned away, already dialing. Security? Yes. I need someone out of my apartment in the next 30 minutes. Ryan felt the world collapse around him. This couldn't be happening. But it was, and there was nothing he could do. Within an hour, Ryan was homeless. Sophie's wealth had supported him for years. Now, without her, he had nothing. His so-called friends vanished as soon as they realized he was no longer connected to Sophie. Job prospects disappeared. His meager savings dwindled fast. Soon, he was forced to move into a shabby apartment, a stark contrast to the luxury he once enjoyed. He had once mocked Lena for living in places like this. Now, he was the one struggling to pay rent. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to be powerless. Life had become bleak. One evening, Ryan wandered aimlessly through the city, lost in his thoughts. His clothes were no longer designer. His shoes were worn and scuffed. He had lost weight, not from exercise, but from barely being able to afford proper meals. As he passed a luxurious restaurant, laughter and light spilled onto the street. Inside, couples enjoyed fine dining beneath golden lights, an experience now out of Ryan's reach. Then he saw her, Lena. She sat by the window, radiant in the glow of the chandeliers. She wasn't alone. Across from her sat a tall, sharply dressed man, confident, charismatic, and clearly successful. They laughed together. She looked genuinely happy. Ryan's heart ached as he watched the man reach for Lena's hand, and she didn't pull away. Instead, she smiled a smile that once belonged to him. He turned away, feeling utterly broken. It was over. Lena had moved on, and he had lost everything. Forever. As the sun set behind the city's skyscrapers, casting everything in a golden light, Lena sat in her spacious office, sipping tea while reviewing the latest business reports. The numbers were strong. Her company was thriving. She had built it all from scratch, not with privilege or connections, but with sheer determination. Just 3 years earlier, she had been an overlooked assistant, dismissed and underestimated. Now she was a leader. Most importantly, she was happy. Closing her laptop, Lena leaned back and gazed out at the city. A gentle knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. "Come in," she called. The door opened to reveal her father, Richard Carter. "Am I interrupting?" he asked, smiling. Lena shook her head. "Never for you." Richard sat down, his eyes filled with pride and a hint of regret. "You know, I still wish I'd been there for you when you were growing up." Lena met his gaze, her expression soft. "I know." A pause. "Can you forgive me?" he asked quietly. Lena let out a slow breath. There was a time she thought she could never forgive him, but she had learned that holding on to anger only held her back. "I do," she said at last. "You're my family. I don't want to waste any more time resenting the past." Relief washed over Richard's face. "I'm so proud of you, Lena." She smiled. "I'm proud of myself, too." Meanwhile, across town, Ryan sat alone in a dim bar. The once ambitious, confident man was now a shadow of himself. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair unkempt, and the scent of cheap whiskey clung to him. He stared into his glass, lost in thought. Months had passed since he lost everything. Sophie had thrown him out, and his so-called friends had vanished. The career he thought he could build had collapsed. And Lena, the only person who ever truly cared, was gone. Every night, he replayed their last conversation in his mind. He remembered the way she looked at him, not with anger or love, but with indifference. That was worse than hatred. She had moved on, while he remained stuck in the past, drowning in regret. One night, as he stumbled out of the bar, an expensive car pulled up nearby. Something about it made him stop. He turned and saw her. Lena stepped gracefully from a sleek black car, her elegant dress flowing as she moved. The city lights danced across her skin, making her seem almost ethereal. Then he saw the man from the restaurant, the man who had taken his place. Lena smiled as her new partner reached for her hand, their fingers entwining effortlessly. Ryan's chest tightened. She was happy, truly happy. And for the first time, Ryan understood she was never meant to be his. She had outgrown him, leaving him behind in a world he once feared. He stood frozen, watching as Lena and her new love disappeared into the night. Just like that, she was gone for good. As Lena embraced her new life, leaving behind the man who once abandoned her, it became clear that true success isn't about money or revenge. It's about growth, resilience, and knowing your own worth. Ryan lost everything, not because of fate, but because of his own choices. In the end, he was left with nothing but regret. Meanwhile, Lena flourished not just in business, but in life and love. She proved that the best revenge isn't payback. It's becoming so extraordinary that the past no longer matters. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Soul Stirring Stories. For more emotional and inspiring tales, turn on notifications so you never miss a story that moves your soul. Thank you for watching. And remember, your worth is never defined by those who fail to see it. See you in the next story.